thanks so much for joining us today. My name is David Evenden, and I'm the owner and founder of Standard User Cyber and Standard User Institute. And this is my good friend Cliff, who is the president of Standard User Institute. And this is Conversations with Cliff. Cliff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
Great. It's good to hear. So in the past couple of weeks, we've talked about all kinds of things from antivirus to viruses, Trojans, and worms, and talked about even Bitcoin mining, identity theft, talked about man-in-the-middle attacks. And one of the mitigation techniques for man-in-the-middle attacks when out in open public, for instance, let's just say, for instance, if, man-in-the-middle attacks against Wi-Fi pineapples, for instance, one of those mitigation technologies is using a VPN or a virtual private network. And from my understanding, that's what you want to talk about today.
Right, virtual private networks. And so I know just a tiny bit about them. In fact, I use a virtual private network with one organization that I'm part of, and so I know how to do it with their system. But I don't exactly know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What is a virtual private network?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. The interesting thing about VPNs, or virtual private network, we'll just call them VPNs because that's a common terminology for them. Pardon me. Is really there's two primary use cases for VPN. One is, let's just say I'm in a specific geographic location and I'm trying to access something, and I don't trust, I guess there's three, and I don't trust the people that I'm around. And so I want to access that without any of these people being able to see what I'm doing. So I want to create a tunnel around my traffic, or encapsulate it, if you will, create a tunnel and allow for it to come out in a different location, where in that location, I trust what's happening there. So so what that means is that I connect myself to another endpoint, to another computer somewhere else, where I can come out into the internet in that space, and everything in between here and there is encrypted and you can't see what I'm doing.
Okay, so like in the movies, I mean, you might be sitting in Denton, Texas, but to people, it may look like you're actually coming from Chicago or some other place.
Exactly right. So it completely, not only does it completely look like that's where I'm coming from, everybody in my local space can't see what I'm doing or what I'm accessing. If I'm logging into something in clear text passwords, nobody in my area can see that. Now, the common problem with that is they think, okay, well, I'm using a VPN to log into this site, and it doesn't have HTTPS, or doesn't have any encryption on the website, so that must mean it's completely secure. What they forget is that when you come out of that other end of that VPN, everything becomes clear text again. You're not protecting yourself from your computer to your website. If it doesn't have encryption on the website and I use a VPN, it's not like magically encrypting the traffic to the website. It just encrypts it to wherever you're coming out of your IP address at.
Okay, now say that again. I mean, you are encrypted in transit from your computer to the website, but when you get to the website, maybe not.
Right. Well, from your computer to the VPN is what you're encrypted from your computer to the VPN. But when you come out of the VPN and you're using something that's not encrypted, then you're basically no longer have encryption.
Okay.
So let's just say there's something between the VPN endpoint and that website that's still sniffing or monitoring traffic. They're going to catch whatever it is you're doing. Pick up in your credentials, anything like that. Okay, so that's one use case. That's like a geographical location. I don't trust the people geographically that I'm around. I'd like to go to, that might be, I don't want to go to a website and then know I'm going to that website, for instance. So I'm going to encrypt my traffic so they can't see where I'm going, or so on and so forth.
Okay, so like if you're sitting in a coffee shop and you just don't want the people that own that particular router to be able to go in there and see where you've been searching.
Or if there's other people connected to that Wi-Fi router who are their patrons as well, and you don't want them to see where you're going. So say for instance, if you're a computer hacker and you research computer hackery stuff or whatever it is, um, that might be one of the reasons why you use a VPN. You don't want people to know that. In Germany, for instance, for quite a while, hacking tools were against the law. You couldn't even own a hacking tool. And so people would use a VPN to go to a website to download hacking tools. So the local state ISPs couldn't see that they were browsing to hacking tool related websites.
Oh,
Yeah, for instance. Okay, so that's one use case. Let's just say, for instance, you're a computer hacker and you want to attack something and you don't want them to know where you're at. You don't want them to know where your IP address is. You use a VPN to come out the other side of that so they don't really know where you're at. Now, that is useful if you have multiple layers of VPNs and it takes a bureaucratic nightmare to actually backtrack all of those IP addresses to see where you're at. But let's just say, for instance, I'm in the United States, I'm attacking something in the United States, and I'm using a VPN inside the United States. The FBI is going to go to that VPN provider and ask what my home IP address and what all my info, and they're going to give it to them. So it's not a very safe plan. Don't do that. So if you're doing something, I don't suggest doing anything illegal, but if that were to happen, you would want to use multiple layers of VPNs. It's going to slow down your traffic and increase your latency exponentially. So, you do one thing and it takes forever, and you do another thing and it takes forever. It's like you're using dial-up all over again. But
okay. So let me stop you just a second. So, I mean, you're talking about people who are hacking, and I can't remember, maybe for bad purposes, if they're hacking for bad purposes.
Sure, black
and
hat.
So this is what's that?
Like a black hacker.
Black hat, thank you. So they would use VPNs or even multiple layers of VPNs to try to hide what they're doing,
and hide where they're coming from.
And hide where they're coming from. But I think, like in my case, I know nothing about hacking, and I'm probably never. I don't expect to ever learn how to hack. I just want to be able to keep myself safe from someone else trying to hack me.
Right.
So VPNs are also good for the ordinary person.
Right. So in the first use case, geographical location, you go to a Starbucks, you don't want people in that space to know that you bank at Wells Fargo for whatever reason. And so you'd use a VPN, then you go to your banking site, and then you log in. Another thing is that helps prevent potential man-in-the-middle attacks. Okay, so that's two use cases. The third use case for VPN is the use case that I think that you alluded to. We won't go into detail about it specifically, but let's just say, for instance, with standard user cyber, we have proprietary infrastructure, logging platforms, pen testing platforms, all kinds of stuff that our pen testers can use, and we provide those resources to them. They can use that, but obviously, I don't want those things sitting out on the open internet. So how do I provide those resources to those people without exposing them to the internet? Well, I give them a login to my VPN. They can access my VPN, and now it appears in the same way that you, in your in your first scenario, where you don't want people to see what you're doing, and so you're going to pretend to come out in a different location. Well, this VPN makes it look like that you're actually sitting on that network wherever it is that you're at. So wherever your business space is, if you were to go there and you're plugging a LAN and you get up, whatever it is, or connect to that local Wi-Fi, you're in that space. Well, connecting to a VPN makes it seem like you're in that space as well. It's literally the exact same thing. You connect to it, you get an IP address that's routable through that space. Everything between you and that VPN is encrypted. And so you're routing into that space, you can access whatever you want. So lots of times in private networks or LANs, local area networks, a lot of those resources there might not be encrypted, because in order to access those, you have to be either on the local network or connected to the local network via a VPN. And so you go to the website and you're like, oh, there's like no HTTPS on this. Why is there no HTTPS? Well, you can't actually get to this unless you're on this network. I still feel like there's some level of risk if there's people visiting and they have computers and whatnot. But for the most part, you know, if you're on a local network for a corporate entity or environment, generally you should only let people on there that you trust.
Okay, so just bringing it back to the ordinary person like me, I think because of my friendship with you and conversations we've had over the years, if I'm sitting in a coffee shop, um, I I would never use their Wi-Fi to pay my bills, or even more than that, to go check my bank account information.
Right.
You know, I just don't use public Wi-Fi for that at all. I do all of that at home, and if I'm doing it the way you recommend, I plug in a cord, but I don't always do that because I don't really think any of my neighbors within range are probably hacking me.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel fairly safe. But let me ask you another question. If I'm at a coffee shop, I mean, what about this, my telephone?
Yeah.
I've always kind of concerned it, or felt that if I use my phone as a local Wi-Fi and I'm the only one connected to it, that it's probably fairly secure. Is that the truth?
Um, pardon me. The access point itself, depending upon what your password is and who's allowed to connect to it, maybe I would say that's true. Now, on the other side of your phone, away from you,
Mm-hmm.
and connected from that point to wherever you're going, let's just say, for instance, you go to your bank and your bank stopped using HTTPS, for instance, for whatever reason. So you no longer have any encryption. You no longer have a TLS or SSL encryption certification between you and your bank. And you're using your phone and you tunnel through your phone and connect to that. Everything in between your phone and that website is unencrypted. And so it can all be seen in clear text if that was the case. Most banks and websites these days have HTTPS and use encrypted
Okay,
traffic.
so if a site has HTTPS, then it is encrypted.
It is encrypted, yeah, but you have to also make sure that it's a valid cert. Um, the valid cert, when you go to a website and you get that little error, hey, this is an untrusted website, even though it says HTTPS, it means that the cert is signed by itself
Mm.
or it's signed for the local server. The way that you get HTTPS or SSL certs validated is going through a valid, a cert signing validation service. Komodo, Symantec, Kaspersky, they all offer services like those. So you can go there, get a specific cert, and process that way. But that's kind of a different conversation.
Yeah.
Going back to VPNs is really just allowing for you to encrypt your traffic either to a corporate environment, let's just say, for instance, wherever you work,
Mm.
or out of a local area where you don't necessarily trust the people that you're around.
Okay. So if you work for somebody, they would probably provide this VPN for you to log into. And so, but on a person,
To a corporate environment, sure.
yes. But to an ordinary person, I mean, I suppose you could say just do all of your online shopping and banking and paying bills. Just do that at home or in a more secure network that you trust completely. And
Yeah.
when you're at the coffee shop, just don't visit sites that you'd be embarrassed by or whatever if somebody saw where you were going. I mean, if that in that case, if you don't actually need to go to sites like banking or whatever, why maybe I wouldn't even need a VPN. Is there any even value in a VPN for just the ordinary user?
For the ordinary user, I would say that and a lot of people think that if I use a VPN, the people on the local Wi-Fi, now they can't reach me. They can still actually access you. They can still see your computer and whatever your firewall looks like. If you have a secure firewall, then they can't get through that.
They
Uh,
can walk up to you and ask you a question.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so exactly right. So you're still there.
Yeah.
So no. I mean, if you're not doing anything that you don't want people seeing what's happening within your traffic, then you're probably fine.
Yeah.
There is lots of other details associated with that, journalists, for instance, and things like that, where that no matter what they're doing, where they're at, they're going to use a VPN because the communication with maybe their sources and stuff like that can
Mhm.
be exposed. and all kinds of other people,
Right.
environments.
Or like you say, they're proprietary information.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't know really what's being transmitted between you, your computer, and the endpoint. So you really want everything going through that tunnel.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let
so
me ask, maybe it's time to ask this question, and that is, if I feel the need for a VPN for me to use personally in coffee shops, how do you do that?
yeah, that's a great question too. So there's two, and I was actually, it was a good transition because I was going to bring that up. There's two basic ways you can do this. One, you can sign up for a VPN service. You sign up for a VPN service. Most of the time, what you do is you have to install their software to configure a new interface. It's a virtualized interface for you to route your traffic through. What that does is creates an encrypted tunnel between you and that endpoint. Sometimes, if you sign up for that, you can actually use the built-in VPN software on your Windows or on your Mac computer. Others require specific proprietary type of software to install to create that tunnel. That's one way. Another way you can do it, which is the way that I do it, is I configure my own VPNs. So
Okay.
I'll purchase a VPS or a dedicated server, and I'll install VPN software on there. I'll harden the server itself. And I'll create my own credentials, and then I'll create my own VPN. So I know.
Okay, now stop just a second, please.
Yep.
You'll create your own what? VPS? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's a virtual private server.
Okay.
So we're kind of getting into the
Mhm.
nitty gritty of
Yeah.
more sort of advanced computer things. But let's just say, for instance, you have a physical server and you want to install a bunch of like virtual servers in there.
Hmm.
And you can install virtual servers on those and you can share those resources between multiple people. But let's just say, for instance, I wanted to use that resource for myself. That becomes a virtual private server. So it's dedicated to me. Or you can have a dedicated physical server, which you get the whole entire server.
Okay.
If you're the only person doing things, the odds that you really need a full dedicated server for a single VPN, that's fairly low. You probably don't need that.
Right.
You can probably just harden a specific virtual private server. When I say harden, that means increasing the security posture of that specific, virtual machine. That's what harden means. So make it harder, for attackers to get in. And so really now I know, and in situations like these, in pen testing, white hat hacking, for instance, when I'm using a VPN to come out of a specific site, I'll use that VPN with a dedicated IP address. So that virtual private server belongs to me. It has its own IP address. I know what that IP address is, and all the pen testers are required to come out of this, whatever they're doing. They come out of their, different specific VPNs. So when the customer comes back to me and says, "Hey, we saw this type of activity. Is this you?" I can now say, through deconfliction purposes, I can say, actually, this is our dedicated VPN IP address for performing actions against your infrastructure. This is not the same IP address. I can confirm that this is not us.
Hmm.
So that's one way that you can process deconfliction. You can prove that it wasn't you by forcing all people to do that. Now, in the event that there's a hiccup and somebody forgets to connect to the VPN and then perform some actions, they just have to log that and say, "I forgot to do this. This was my IP address during this time period." That's okay. We really don't want that type of activity to happen out of customer or even public spaces, but it does happen. We're not going to pretend like it doesn't happen. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little while ago one way you can sign up for a VPN service. Does
Yeah.
that mean pay for it? Is that what you mean by that?
There are paid for services for doing that. Most VPN services are not free. At least I'm going to say all good VPN services are not free. And you can sometimes, like I look and watch for security news and all kinds of stuff like that, and you'll see advertisements for $35 for VPN for life or something. So literally, you just
Hmm.
go on and pay $35 and you have access to the VPN for the rest of your life. So those are great deals. There's like 48-hour DEF CON hacker monthly news deals or something where you're just like, we're giving away this particular special. So And then in those cases, for services like those, they actually have a distribution of VPN IP addresses. So you can actually go in a drop down menu and say, I want to come out of the Ukraine, I want to come out of France, I want to come out of
Oh,
Spain, I want to come out of I want to come out of New York City, I want to come out of San Francisco, whatever it
okay.
is. You can change your IP address based on wherever you want to pretend to be coming out of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so that really that kind of walks us through the multiple different types of VPNs, I'm sorry, the multiple different use cases of a VPN, how you would configure a VPN if you wanted to yourself, why you'd use it, how you'd protect yourself, what it's actually doing, and how you'd sign up for one. There are a bunch of different commercial services for VPNs. We're probably gonna not go into specific ones of those on here, but you go in, there are all kinds of articles on what some of the best VPNs are, and for hackers, one, what are some of the best VPNs for normal regular users. Um,
So you just basically Google what are the highest rated VPN services, and you'll
Yeah,
get.
well, so actually, having said that, so like I would say like Astral VPN, NordVPN, and Proton VPN. Those are three pretty good VPN services. There's all kinds of other ones, hundreds and hundreds, but
Okay.
those are some pretty good ones that a lot of people in our community use.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
cool.
right. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Cliff, thanks so much again for joining us on Conversations with Cliff. Hopefully, over the next couple of months, maybe even the next few weeks, we can start to integrate a few other security practitioners into the conversation to talk about maybe some different subjects or even revisit things like Bitcoin mining, where I don't know a whole lot about,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So, thank you so much again, and we'll talk to you next time.
Okay. That sounds great. Thanks so much.